Most businesses fail. The question is, how can you have a business that doesn't fail? I have found 7 businesses with the lowest failure rate associated with them, and this is all that by data, because I think it's valid to be worried about having a business that fails. I mean, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, 20% of the US small businesses fail within the first year. Then that jumps up to 50% by the year 5, and after 10 years, 2/3 of all businesses have gone under. So let's get to the data and see which businesses have the lowest failure rates. Alright, number 1 is laundromats, an amazingly low failure rate. According to the Laundrylux, laundromats have about a 95% success rate over a 5-year period. I double checked this because the source I have used, Laundrylux, is a part of the laundromat community. And also the Chamber of Commerce did a study in partnership with Speed Queen where they showed that they have about a 94.8 success rate. So somewhere in the 90s, let's call it again, nothing is guaranteed in business. But one of the reasons I'm talking about laundromats as a good way to get into business is because they have a low failure rate. They are simple to understand: quarters, machines, a little bit of dryer, a little bit of washer. They typically don't take millions to start or buy, and it also turns out that people need to wash their clothes even during recession, so you have that downside protection. Lastly, there is a passive side. If you do laundromats as an absentee business, you can run it remote or with very few employees. The machines do all of the hard work of washing and drying the clothes, and your customers do the work of loading and unloading the clothes. Number 2 is rental property businesses. I think it was Andrew Carnegie that said 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. More money has been made in real estate than almost all industrial investments combined. So it should come as no surprise that real estate investing enjoys 85.3% success rate, according to the advisor Smith, a commercial insurance company who examined the data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So now the question is, why real estate is interesting and why does it have a low failure rate? Well, one is because, again, it's simple business with hard assets. So you have your house, the market is really efficient, so typically your house is worth what the market says that it is. There's not a lot of room for variance or change. You can enjoy cash flow each month, and your tenants pay down your mortgage for you, and your properties tend to appreciate over the long term. And for that, I use the word leverage. This is the form of the mortgages, right? So you have the ability to use somebody else's money in order to buy real estate, and then that also allows you to have tax benefits. And then there is a passive component, that is, you could just manage your own property. Real estate prices are interesting if you're in the right cycle of the market. Even if you're making a small percentage monthly, like the average rental property, that's about $500 a month, so it's not gonna make you a billionaire, but you probably can understand how to grow the business and how not to grow the business. Alright, number 3, self-storage facility. If you don't like the idea of the real estate investing, let's say you don't want to deal with tenants or trash and toilets, self-storage has less of those things. They have been one of the leading asset classes in real estate since 2008, and according to the few studies done by Rhino Building, these resilient businesses have like a 92% success rate. One caveat here I would say though is there are a lot of these self-storage facilities, so will that 92% rate continue? I would want to watch what's going to happen the next couple months and years. But I know a lot of people like this Nick Cooper who makes millions on absentee storage sites, and what's fascinating about this asset class is advances in technology makes this not only possible but pretty standard to run these things remote. So basically you have keyless entry, you have tracking systems, you have security systems, you have automated bill pay, you have all automated contracts. All of this allows people to get in and out of their units without you. Then there is the value add component, also known as adding things to the business to make it more valuable and efficient. They are high with this type of asset class. It doesn't take a ton to make self-storage pretty interesting. In fact, look at what you can do if you just pay in the front of your self-storage unit and what the normal increase in the property value is for that. So the phone has allowed us to have no manager on site needed in most ways. Now, number 4 is transportation businesses, last mile delivery. I think last mile delivery is the biggest change in our economy in the last 10 years. When it comes to transportation and logistics, with e-commerce coming along, the gig economy online platforms, it's more needed than ever to have a way to get goods into our hands. Basically, trucking that delivers goods or people from one place to another for the fee is transportation and logistics. I have read a whole article on how one gent turned this idea of a short distance trucking company into $2,200 a day. It's really good, but this can come in between many firms like a full-fledged long-haul trucking businesses to a simple little side hustle driving for Uber on the weekends or everything in between. These businesses have a success rate about 76.4% according to the advisor Smith. That's kind of fascinating because I thought these businesses would be more complex. Now there is a massive difference between the short and long-haul trucking or shipping food from Uber, so your results gonna be vary. But on average, these businesses have a high success rate. I think because again we don't have that many inputs, I would worry about skill given the demand for drivers. If you really wanted to create a huge empire, but as a job turned into business, this one could be interesting and relatively low risk. You could buy a truck that's going to have inherent value in it, a little bit of devaluation after you buy it, or maybe if you buy it new, and it's your time to start with actually running the routes or having somebody else. But you don't have a lot of what's called capex or upfront expenses in order to run this business, and that's make this business to have a low failure rate. So number 5 is the vending machine business. So you don't need a lot of cash, 3 to 5k. You just buy a vending machine and get started, or you're super smart, industrious, and you buy a used one for $800. And I know a guy Miller who went from being a struggling sales rep doing a 9 to 5 job to a successful vending machine owner. Miller started with just 2 machines in 2020 and now owns 57 machines that generate $30,000 monthly or $360,000 per year in revenue. Once you have your vending machine, a couple different things you need to do for it. Find a well-traffic location, negotiate to put it in for, as a service or for a rental fee, then fill inventory. Great little starter business. I wouldn't do it if I was a pro or I wanted to make a lot of money, meaning if I wanted to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, this business is probably really good for your first 20s, 30s or 50s, or maybe you could get to $100,000. But it's a great business to learn things like P&Ls, logistics, pricing, margins, managing a few contractors, or running it by yourself. You start small, it's not gonna bankrupt you. You figure out how the business works and then you slowly expand. And this business has more than 90% success rate. Then you could eventually have a bunch of them, roll them up and sell them as a group like these companies do. So the actual success rate for the vending machine business varies from 90% according to Drop Vending, who's in the space, or 82% success rate according to the US Bureau of Labor. There are many billion-dollar vending companies, which is interesting also because it does show you that you can scale this space. Although I believe this business requires a lot of effort, but it's a great choice for folks who are willing to work hard, as this business has low chances of failing, it doesn't cost much to start, and it's easy to run. Number 6, agriculture businesses. These are highly resilient and tend to have low failure rates. These can encompass many different types of businesses, including farms and a host of related businesses. Agriculture businesses enjoy an awesome 88% success rate according to advisor Smith. So if you have a green thumb and have interest in farming or other agriculture related businesses, this may be perfect for you. So number 7, senior care centers. So this one surprised me. I didn't realize that the senior care centers had such a low failure rate, but actually it kind of makes sense for a lot of reasons. 1, government subsidies, state subsidies, city subsidies that basically allow people to run senior care centers with some help from the government. 2 is obviously the demographics in the US are changing. There are a lot of older people, less young people, and they need more care. Now originally when I thought of these ideas, I was like, what are some beginner ways to do this? You can't buy a property that costs tens of millions of dollars. You probably can buy that when you're just starting out. But I didn't realize that there is a ton of little houses where they actually rent a house and get it zoned properly for senior care, or alternatively buy a house and get it zoned or their white certificates to be able to assist in living there. So that's why this area is actually kind of interesting. There's definitely oversight here and certificates and zoning that you have to be aware of, but you don't have to spend millions to buy it. There you have it, 7 businesses with the least likelihood to blow up in your face, at least according to the data. If you like this piece of content, then subscribe and like would be appreciated. As always, believe in yourself and remember, success comes through failure and dedication and hard work.